The barbarism is continuing, with the genocide forces today targeting the Naser hospital complex, killing journalists. Again, they targeted the area that houses journalists and where some journalists stay to report. Patients were killed, doctors were killed, and then rescue services were killed too. Why? Because when Israel targeted the location, they had the rescue services coming to try and help. They had another strike against them, killing and wounding some of them as well. 11 people died of starvation. The Israeli imposed American-backed and many countries-backed starvation. 11 people were starting to see more and more 2 digits a day, a question of time, up until this reaches to hundreds per day or thousands or, God forbid, tens of thousands a day due to the Zionist-imposed starvation campaign and the famine that is beyond catastrophical now inside of the Gaza Strip. So this attack targeted deliberately, again, Al Jazeera crew, cameraman Muhammad Salam and 4 other journalists were killed in the Israeli strike. Then, of course, the rescue services, some of the healthcare staff and patients, a typical Israeli attack. But there was something a little bit different this time. The IDF chief of staff all of a sudden is saying that we need to have an inquiry. We need to have an inquiry, and he regrets harm to civilians. IDF Chief Staff Fayal Zamir has ordered an immediate inquiry into this morning's strike against Naser Hospital in southern Gaza, Khan Yunis. The military says IDF confirms that troops carried out strikes in the area, which, according to the Hamas-run health ministry, killed 20. 4 journalists are said to be among the dead. So the number is higher than the initial number that I stated, clearly by the verified numbers of the health ministry of Gaza, the ministry that actually verifies every death when they declare, by the way. And they deal with the numbers of deaths in Gaza in high levels of professionalism because they need to have the relevant checks. They know that over 10,000 are almost definitely killed, but they won't tell you that they're killed because they haven't retrieved the body, they haven't conducted the checks. And of course, it's more and more difficult to identify, with Israel even preventing the people from getting to the bodies. He is saying that, oh, we regret it, and we didn't really mean to. But it wasn't just only him; it was also Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu showing regret, and all of a sudden, as if these people do not really intend to have these attacks against the civilian population. And he made that statement, Benjamin Netanyahu, in English. What did he say exactly? Benjamin Netanyahu released a statement in English regarding the killing of journalists on the Naser hospital, stating that Israel deeply regrets the tragic mishap that occurred today at the Naser hospital in Gaza. Israel values the work of journalists, medical staff, and all civilians. The military authorities are conducting a thorough investigation. The statement added that our war is with Hamas. Our just goals are defeating Hamas and bringing the hostages home. Therefore, Benjamin Netanyahu is showing regret for this action, as if Israel didn't kill over 250 journalists, more than all of the world wars combined, more than every other conflict in history, more than whatever you wanted. Genocide, urbanicide, scholasticide, journalisticide, everything. Total destruction. But they're pretending that, we didn't really mean it. And, we show regret to these things that happen. Why are they also saying that? To try and show Donald Trump as well. Donald Trump as well, he said he's not happy about the 20 Israeli strikes happening in the Gaza hospital. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump also came up with very important news. He said that conclusive deal is going to happen within like weeks, within 2 to 3 weeks. These people have been fighting for so long, and a conclusive deal is going to happen within 2 weeks. Several months back, he said we're just days away and a week away, and over the weekend and next week, Netanyahu makes it impossible to reach any sort of deal. Trump and his administration, as if nothing happened, everything is fine, no problem whatsoever. But he comes up with a statement now as if, everything is about to end and within a few weeks. So if you believe Donald Trump, there you have it. But the thing is, and it's very, very justified and very normal for everyone to lose every ounce of trust and faith in whatever they say, because Israel has been conducting a genocide, getting away with it, breaking ceasefires, breaching ceasefire deals, all of that, and being enabled and allowed to have more time. The United States and other countries buying Israel more time. But now there was an interesting statement coming also from the IDF chief of staff, who was known to prefer a ceasefire over the continuation of this campaign in Gaza City, that he knows and has said that will lead to more casualties from the Israeli army and will be a risk to the Israeli prisoners of war. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump, he said that there might be less than 20 now when he had a chat with Steve Witkoff, to the surprise of the prisoners of war. They were like, at least tell us if there are less, if more are dying. Maybe how about you let us know? And they're showing more distrust now in the United States administration, especially after recently they carried out, they issued a statement, and they said that clearly the American preference is not here anymore. But now Trump is saying 3 weeks. What did Eyal Zamir say? Eyal Zamir said that there is a hostage deal on the table and we need to take it. Despite all of the talks coming from Israel now that we're not going to go into another deal, we're not going to go into a temporary deal, we're going to continue up until we achieve the mission, the chief says, I think there's a deal and we need to take it. He said that in a recent visit that he made in Haifa. So clearly he's showing more signs that are not in line with Benjamin Netanyahu, because Benjamin Netanyahu is officially saying that, no, we need to have an all-out deal, no more temporary deals. Yet the IDF chief of staff saying there's a deal on the table and we have to take it now. So there's clearly a difference there. But how likely is Benjamin Netanyahu to reach this deal? That depends on multiple developments internally. One of his previous allies and, people who left him and came back and left him and came back, Benny Gantz, who was in the war cabinet in the beginning of the genocide, later on resigned. He was calling for the opposition to join a government that will be a government for relief or to support or release the Israeli prisoners of war. He faced immediate threats and, criticism from the opposition parties in Israel, telling him, how dare you? How can you do that? You're not genuine. But what that shows is there are more plans within the opposition to form a bigger government with Benjamin Netanyahu to make him bulletproof up until the next elections in case he goes into a deal. He was offered a safety net by the opposition leader. That safety net clearly wasn't satisfactory for Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, the Benny Gantz is trying to offer him something a little bit more lucrative, a little bit more attractive. He's getting criticism for it, but he clearly doesn't care because he knows his political future is almost over. So that's kind of his last attempt to try and rescue himself and also give Netanyahu the backing to reach a deal, because any deal would mean Smotrich and Ben Gvir are out. So what are the Arab and Muslim states doing? Well, there was an emergency meeting of the Islamic Cooperation Organization in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabia. And there were statements by multiple leaders. One of the people leading the actual event was the Turkish foreign minister. The Turkish foreign minister said a couple of things. He said that the Palestinians need our collective action. And he said that they are calling now for a mobilization of international community to end this war. And he's saying that the actions of the states did a lot of work. It did a lot of work in shifting the public opinion in Western countries. And a few notes here. I mean, there has been a genocide going on for 2 years, and shifting public opinions from a government's perspective is something that is handed to the Minister of Communication and anyone under that department. As far as I know, I might be ignorant, but I mean, isn't the Ministry of Communications and Media responsible for certain things? And then they do that, but countries focus on what actually matters and what they can do, not just public opinion, especially when people are being slaughtered and starved to death, like actual mobilization, actual cutting of ties, actual financial pressure, actual diplomatic pressure. Plus, thankfully, the public and the people themselves shifted the opinion everywhere across the world, from the person who posts to the person who protests to the person who publishes a video or a clip or whatever. This is another move coming from the Arab and Muslim countries to try and make the people like something is being done. Hardly anything is being done. To be very specific, hardly anything has been done by the Arab and Muslim states in their majority to prevent this genocide. No decisive diplomatic action, no decisive financial action, no decisive military action. Nothing whatsoever. Moves here and there and attempts and theatrics, theatrics to try and show the people that, something is happening. That's not enough. If you're trying to convince the people that you're doing something by saying that we're calling the international community for mobilization, what do you mean exactly? What mobilization? The people starving and being killed, they don't have time to wait for calls for mobilization. You have been calling for mobilization, all of the Arab and Muslim states calling and calling and calling. Until when are you going to talk? We've had enough of talking. Either take decisive action or just don't talk.